Welcome to the Woman's World, where we'll meet achieving women making a difference in our community. I'm Carolyn Bruna. Our guest is Lesley Robinson, a volunteer for a national organization helping children entering foster care called Comfort Cases. Welcome, Lesley.
It's a pleasure to be here, and it's good to see you, Carolyn.
Yes, thank you. It was wonderful to see you. We worked together in another life.
We did. We did.
Where you were in the school system, where you were the computer specialist, and
Right.
I was the coordinator for study skills.
Seems like a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm afraid too long. We won't tell people how long.
Okay, we're not telling. We're not telling.
So now you found a wonderful organization that you're loving this to volunteer for, and tell me about it. It's called Comfort Cases.
Yes, Comfort Cases, and I'm lucky to have found them, is a national 501c3 that's located right here in Rockville, Maryland. Mm-hmm. And what we do is we put together cases for children entering foster care who generally come with nothing. Mm-hmm. And if they do have any meager possessions, they are put in a black trash bag. So there's no dignity to and no comfort. It's a scary time when you're pulled out of the only home you've ever known, and then you have nothing, and you go into a stranger's home empty-handed.
Yeah, with nothing but a trash bag.
With nothing but a trash bag.
That sounds so horrible.
It's very demoralizing.
Yeah, it really sounds it.
And especially for the little ones. You know, imagine coming home from school just like you do every day, and the police are there or a social worker is there, and they pull you out of your home, the only home you've ever known, even if it hasn't been a perfect home, and they take you, they're strangers, and they're taking you to a stranger's home to live. Yeah. So it's very difficult. So we try to help that transition be a little more special, a little more comforting, and give them a sense of hope as they go.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Thank
you.
I
see the word for Comfort Cases. You brought a Comfort Case
I did.
with you.
Would it be all right if I show you what a Comfort Case is?
Yeah, I'd love for you to show me. I haven't seen it at all yet.
Well, a Comfort Case is generally a brand new backpack or a duffel bag, and the first thing that children see is the stuffed animal, and you would be amazed at how, no matter how old the children are, and we do these Comfort Cases for children 0 to 19. So even the big ones grab the stuffed animal. They all get a brand new pair of PJs, and I want you to, this ribbon, it's a sample bag, but tied with a ribbon, because we want this to look a little bit like a gift.
Present.
And no hand-me-downs here. Everything is brand new. The children get toiletries, and I brought two different ones to show you for the little ones and the big ones, but the babies get a baby wash, baby shampoo, baby lotion, they get a baby washcloth, and this one happens to be handmade, so that makes it even more special. They get baby wipes, they get Desitin. If the children are older, and I brought this just so you could see the difference, the older children get, again, shampoo, conditioner, brand new bar soap. It's no fun to go into a house and use a bar soap that strangers have used. And the older ones get deodorant. And they're all packed in Ziploc bags. This is all done with great thought, so that if they spill, the bag doesn't get wet. So, and it makes it a little more special. They also, all the children get blankets. And this is a sample, so it's a little bit smaller, but I think of it as a smaller child would have a blankie. And you can see this one was hand quilted. And a lot of the blankets that we give the children are hand knit. And we have quilters, we have knitters, we have quilting groups all over the country. Comfort Cases is in 50 states, DC, and Puerto Rico. So I wanted you to see that some of them are handmade. And I even have people who donate fabric, and then I have quilters who quilt them after I get the fabric, so it's all donations.
And we're going to talk later about things that volunteers can do.
Absolutely.
And I see.
Absolutely.
Did you organize some of those quilters and people who sew and make them?
In Maine and Florida I did, but there are people all over the country, and especially here in Maryland, that are doing it. The older children get a journal and pencils and pens, and the studies show that children who journal tend to do better in school because they're writing. So we have that. The little ones, thank you for helping me. The little ones get coloring books or activity books and crayons, I can't find them, so that if they're waiting for their placement, they have something to do and something fun to do. And then very importantly, and you'll appreciate this as a teacher, they all get a book. It's really important that they get a book. And all the books are grade level appropriate. So It's a wonderful starter kit. What you're not seeing in this backpack, which I couldn't show you because of its color, is called our second program. And that's called, can we lay that down so it won't fall?
There you go.
It's called the Comfort XL. And a Comfort XL is a second case that can come separately or can come in the Comfort case, and it's a foldable duffel. And that's so that the school-age children can use the backpack for school and not look so different because they don't have one. And the fold-up duffel replaces the trash bag. And that's really important. And in our vision, the children would get the fold-up Comfort XL first, and then when they get their placement, the social worker would give them the Comfort case itself. So they're actually two separate programs, but they're programs that work together.
Oh, I see. But the XL is for the older children? Is that
It's for everybody, but it replaces the trash bag.
Oh, I see.
So this is content filled. The XL is a separate bag, so that, and our hope would be that maybe the police would have it in the trunk of their car, or the Department of Health and Human Services would have it, so that when they pull the child out of the house, they don't give them a trash bag, they give them an XL. Does that clear it up?
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, I see. I hadn't realized that. I thought the XL is just for older kids.
No, it's everybody.
Everybody, that's very
Everybody.
interesting.
We care very much about children 0 to 19.
Oh, it sounds like a wonderful organization. And you're talking about now the things for the Comfort case, but is actually a charity as well, right? So
Comfort
what is
Cases-
Comfort Cases, the charity?
Comfort Cases, the charity, is located on Gaither Road, right in Rockville,
Here in Maryland.
in Maryland. And Comfort Cases, can I give you a little history about Comfort
Oh,
Cases?
yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Comfort Cases was founded, they just had their 6th birthday. and I shouldn't say they, because for me it's a we. Comfort Cases just celebrated its 6th birthday. The founder, a wonderful guy by the name of Rob Shear, was a foster child. He came from an abusive home, the kind of home you always pray that children never have to be in. And when he was 10, he went into care. And when he went into care, he was given a trash bag to carry his possessions. And he was in several foster homes, which is the plight of foster children. They usually have more than one placement for whatever reason. And several years later, and this is again what happens to foster children, they hit 18 and they become homeless. And Rob went into the military, eventually got a job, and he and his husband decided to adopt children. They wanted a family, so they adopted 2 sets of siblings, beautiful children from foster care. How did those 4 children arrive at their door? Trash
With
bags.
trash bags, yeah, I
They
can
had
see
trash
that.
bags.
Oh.
And at that point, Rob and Reese just said, no more. And that was the beginning of Comfort Cases. And they actually did their first packing party, which I'll tell you more about because that's something that people can do, in their home, and packed the first Comfort Cases.
Oh, how wonderful. Yeah.
And I should mention that Rob just came out with a book with his story called A Forever Family. And that book is available everywhere, and part of the proceeds go to Comfort Cases. So, and it's a very compelling read. I highly recommend
Really?
it. Yeah.
Gosh. Okay, yeah. Well, say the name of that book and maybe people will want to get it and read it.
It's called A Forever Family,
A Forever-
Fostering Change One Child at a Time.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I'll get that myself.
Absolutely. It's a great read, and it's a very compelling. It will as a teacher, it will tug at your heartstrings.
You are so involved in this. I say, tell me, how did you find Comfort Cases and how did you get involved and why?
It's a really funny story, Carolyn. As you know, I don't live in Maryland now. I live in Maine and in Florida. And I was actually not well as a retired person. And you might also remember that I don't sit still very much.
Yes,
and
I do.
I wasn't well. And I was watching TV because I couldn't move around. I was sick. And I watched the Ellen DeGeneres show.
Oh.
And it just so happened that the day I watched it, Rob Shear and Reese Shear were on the show, and they were talking about Comfort Cases. And I had been looking for a charity to work for and with. And I recommend to your audience that it's a charity they consider because you get such tremendous satisfaction. And it's a really feel-good place to be, Comfort Cases. And I was watching it, and I actually started to cry. Rob touched me so greatly by not only what he had endured, but how he had risen above it, how he took a very difficult start, and you know how they say make lemons out of lemonade?
Oh.
Well, he's made the sweetest lemonade.
Lemonade out of lemons.
Right, lemonade out of lemons. His lemonade is the sweetest. What he has done for children all over the country is not only commendable, but astonishing. It's just fabulous. So
It's wonderful to hear this. You don't always hear positive things about foster care and children in foster care, you know, so it's wonderful to hear this.
well, it's a real success story, and it's funny because I happen to be friendly with Sidney Katz, who's county councilman here in Montgomery County. And when I saw Rob on TV, I emailed Sidney and I said, do you know about this charity? And if you do, help them. And if you don't, find them. And he did. And he connected me with the Shears. So that's how I found it.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It was great.
Gosh, yeah.
It was
You know,
great.
are there a lot of children in foster care, I guess, in the United States, but also specifically here in Maryland and here in Montgomery County where we are?
There are. In the United States, and the figures change day to day, week to week, but there's about 440,000 children in care in the United States. And I think the number in Maryland is about 22,000. I have to peek at my statistics,
go ahead.
but
Sure.
in Montgomery County, I don't know the stats, honestly, but I do know that 3% of children who age out of foster care will go to college. 3%. That's very low.
Very
So they need a
low.
lot of help. And 50% of the children who age out of foster care, only half of them will be employed by the time they're 24. The statistics are staggering about foster children. And we do not have enough foster parents
You know,
in this
that
country.
reminds me, my question I was going to ask is what makes these children adoptable?
In your heart, you always want a child to go back to their biological family. You want them to be there. And that's how the system works. Unfortunately, some of their families are not ideal. And you hate to go there, but there's abuse, there's neglect, there's and parents who have problems, or parents who just can't afford to have their children, or parents who are very, very young and can't afford it. In order for a child to be adopted into care, the parent has to surrender parental rights. They have to give it up. And as you can imagine, as a parent, you don't want to give up your child. So
Correct.
often these children are placed into care during an emergency situation, and then they go back to the home, and it doesn't work out again. And sometimes these children are special needs because they have had bad experiences, or their parents have had biological problems when they were giving birth. So the children are born with problems, and the first foster home doesn't work out. And so it's a difficult system. Some people say it's a broken system. We at Comfort Cases strive every day to make the system better and to make situations better for children in care.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a break now.
Okay.
And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about some of the stories that Lesley has to tell us about children in care.
Julie was always a voracious reader. She'd carry 2 novels on an airplane because she'd read one on a 3-4 hour ride. And at some point, I began to notice that she would read a page and couldn't remember what she had just read, and she'd have to go back and read it again.
I don't remember much these days after I read, but less does for me, and I love it.
Welcome back to It's a Woman's World. We're speaking today with Lesley Robinson, a volunteer for Comfort Cases. Lesley, I wanted to get to well, maybe not.
Would you like to start again?
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to It's a Woman's World. We're speaking today with Lesley Robinson, a volunteer for Comfort Cases. Lesley, I wanted to mention that Comfort Cases is a national organization, but based in Maryland.
Correct.
So tell us a little bit more about what other states, in addition to Maryland, are interested in Comfort Cases or do have people volunteering for them.
Well, as you can imagine, there are foster children in every state in the United States. So we are very proud of the fact that we have gotten comfort cases to all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico. So where there's a special need, we try and get to the children who need it. I have been instrumental in getting cases to Florida and Maine, where I live. And I also, Maryland's really my home state because I was here for so long. And I think I've been very helpful here in Maryland because my heart's kind of here. And Maryland is the very best place to volunteer for comfort cases because the headquarters is here. However, thanks to the internet, which is my best friend, and the phone, you can make contacts with people all over the country. And I have, last year at this time, comfort cases had not reached 8 states in the union. So I just made it my business to get on the phone and get on the internet and contacted Montana and Wisconsin and Wyoming and New Hampshire and Vermont. And it's just amazing the people you meet who work with foster care.
That's wonderful. And I'm interested in what the volunteers can do, because I know we have an audience who might be very interested in helping and volunteering. And you said there's lots of different things besides, you said you work on the internet and the phone, but what other things do you do and that other people can do, volunteers can do?
There are so many things people can do, and we need their help. We definitely need their help. Faith-based groups do fundraisers, and they buy the stuffed animals, and they buy the coloring books, and they buy backpacks, and they have a packing party. And of course, Comfort Cases has a wonderful volunteer coordinator, Barry Carr, who will help the faith-based groups, school groups, Girl Scouts, Cub Scouts, any group that wants, women's clubs have done this.
That's great.
And you can have a packing party at your facility. You can raise money. We're always happy to have a fundraiser and donate the money to Comfort Cases. Perhaps the most fun is to go to the headquarters on Gaither Road, where you can tie pajamas, where you can sort books by age groups, where you can put toiletries into Ziploc bags, where you can actually pack cases, where you can help pack the cases for shipping, because the cases are shipped all over the country. How am I doing?
All over the country.
Right.
But they don't have the center that we have here, and luckily here in Maryland. So how can those volunteers get together, or what can they do? Or is there some help that you give to these people, or
Well,
that
if
Comfort
you have,
Cases
if you
headquarters
have,
gives?
Absolutely. If you have a volunteer like me in Maine or in Florida, then you organize. My shed in Maine, where my home is kind of headquarters for Maine. And I think I was telling you at the break that I actually have people that I've never met show up at my shed with contents. You can knit blankets. You can knit washcloths. Up in Maine, my hairdresser has a box where she is, and people drop off handmade blankets and handmade washcloths and stuffed animals and coloring books. Yes, you can choose in any state to make yourself a drop-off point. You can also contact Barry, and she will help you organize a packing party anywhere.
I see.
She can give you several options for how to do it, whether you raise the money and then buy the contents through, and we can suggest places to buy the contents where they're more economical. You can decide on your own to go shopping, and it's kind of fun to do.
You have to grab a few girlfriends.
You need a few
and
girlfriends.
go shopping, yeah.
And sometimes you even get a few husbands who want to do it. And we have packing parties. Last year in Florida, I did a packing party in a high school for a group called Project Men. There are lots of groups in high schools who community service, where they want to help. And children helping children is the absolute best. Rotary groups do this. Elks groups. We want everyone's help. The more children we can help, the better. And we've gotten over 80,000 cases out to children all over the country.
That's amazing, and I'm so glad to hear about this, and I can't believe that I actually had not heard of this.
Well, tell everyone you
organization.
know.
We will now.
We need your
absolutely,
help.
yeah. And I know you have some great stories, so let's get to those. Positive, uplifting, right?
One of the things at Comfort Cases that we talk about is that it takes a community coming together to help children in care. And I like to tell the story about being in Florida and getting a call from the chief of police in the little town of Ellsworth that is close to where I live in Maine. And I had left comfort cases with the police department in Maine because when I'm not there in the winter, I don't want the foster children to be forgotten. So we pack a lot of cases and we leave them in Maine during the winter so that if they're needed. And of course, Comfort Cases being the fabulous organization they are, if more are needed, we will ship them out of Maryland up to Maine. But I get this call from the police chief. I'm in my car in the supermarket. And he says, Lesley, I just pulled 2 children out of a very bad home, and they're on their way to care. I only have 1 age-appropriate comfort case. I need a second case for the other child. Can you get that case to me? And I said, well, Chief, when do you need it? He says, well, they're in the police car now. So I said, can I make 1 phone call and call you back? And I did. I called one of the volunteers in Maine. She called her dad where the comfort cases were housed, and in 10 minutes, he met the police car, so both children had a comfort case. So they had it to go into care. The other story I love to tell because, you know, it's very important to be able to network, and Rob Scheer is the master at networking. And I try hard, but I can't be as good as Rob. But I was actually invited to the Day of Remembrance at the Capitol last year for the Holocaust Museum. And I got online because security is very tight at the Capitol. And there was a gentleman in a police uniform at the end of the line. And I said, can I stand with you? And we started to chat. And it turned out he knew one of our former students who was running the program at the Holocaust Museum. And we chatted about the police department. And it ended up I was sitting next to him at the event. And so I was chatting with him. And I said, can I take a little bit more of your time and tell you about a great organization in Maryland called Comfort Cases? And as the result of our chat, the police department in Washington, D.C. now has over 100 XLs, which they give to the children whenever they pull them out of homes. They hadn't heard about Comfort Cases, and now they're fully on board. I have the chief's phone number. He has mine, and whenever they need cases, I hear from him personally. And it just shows you how it does take a community to get this done.
I can see how Comfort Cases is extremely meaningful to you. Yeah.
Well, we've spent our lives, Carolyn, helping other people's children.
That's true, yeah. It's hard to even put that in words. If you could put in words what it means to you, what would you say?
I think I would say that I realized that I was really blessed to grow up in the kind of home we all want. And I had unconditional love and a wonderful family. I now realize that I was blessed. I was really blessed. And since I have the time and I have the resources, what I want to do is make life a little sweeter for children who didn't get what I get. And I want to do that because I want them to turn out like a Rob Scheer, who goes through a foster care experience, but is able to reap some of the good in life. And maybe this case will give them a starting point to lift themselves up and make a real success out of themselves.
That's wonderful.
Because they
Lesley,
deserve
yeah.
it. They deserve it.
That's wonderful. And you're right, we don't always realize what we have when we have it until later on. Yeah. But
So I implore your
wonderful
audience to think about giving to these children, because a little bit of giving goes a very long way.
I was going to ask you, well, first, we've been talking a few times about Comfort Cases, well, the whole time about Comfort Cases, but how could people get in contact? Who do they call? Where do they call if they want to volunteer and help?
www.comfortcases.org. Go to our website. We also have a Facebook page. Go over to Gaither Road. It's right off Shady Grove Road.
Oh, if you're here, of course.
If you're in Maryland,
area.
by all means, call there. Matt Murphy is the administrative assistant. He will, in a minute, have something that you can do. You have my email address, Lesley Robinson at comfortcases.org. I hear from people all over the country. I am happy to talk to people about how to volunteer. I've worked with people in Georgia. I've worked with a lot of people all over the country. And I'm happy to be
Yeah.
a springboard.
I see how much this means to you. So, and I hear that Comfort Cases gave you an award, so tell us a little bit about it.
Well, it
I
was-
wanted to get to that ceremony, but we were flying back from someplace else, so I
Well,
couldn't
that's
make
very
it.
sweet of you. Comfort Cases did me the honor of making me their Volunteer of the Year for 2019, and I was honored at their annual gala. It will be this coming year in April 25th, I believe, of 2020. It's a fabulous fundraiser with great food, great people, a silent auction.
Will this be a gala that's yearly?
It's annual. It's in
Annually?
Rockville. It was at, I believe it's at the Marriott in Rockville.
Well,
I think it's the Bethesda Marriott in Rockville, in northern Rockville.
Yeah, don't,
And it's a
we don't
fun
need
time.
those specifics. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a fun time.
Oh, good, good. So if you want people to remember Comfort Cases, or of course you want people to remember, but what should they remember about? What's the most important? We have some time for you. What's the most important thing about Comfort Cases you want people to remember? The charity and the kids? And,
I want them to remember two things. I want them to remember that, number one, these children really matter. They are kind of the forgotten children, and they need our support. They need us to see them. I would implore people who are in the position to think about fostering, because fostering is a true gift. If you open your home and give a child a stable home, that's something that they weren't blessed with, so they can be the blessing in that child's life. And if not, to be a foster parent, to get involved with Comfort Cases or another agency that works with foster children. These cases, there's a young woman that I've gotten to know very well. She's a single mother. She's fostered and adopted 3 children up in Maine on her own. And she calls these cases a game changer. She talks about babies coming into care with nothing but a diaper. She talks about children walking into a home with nothing but the clothes on their back. And to be handed a case and be able to put these children, or have these children put on a clean pair of PJs and be able to shampoo their hair and wash themselves and feel like they're starting new in a better situation. I would tell you, if you're active in your church, if you're active in a community group, it just takes one person to step up and say, I'm going to help. And you'd be surprised how fast people want to help with Comfort Cases.
That's wonderful.
I really don't have to ask more than once. I had a supermarket help me with it.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate everything you're saying, and I'm so happy that you're helping. I'm sure they're happy about it, and it's wonderful to see you again.
And Carolyn, thank you for letting me put the word out through this wonderful TV show.
You're welcome. Wonderful. I hope you've enjoyed meeting our guest, Lesley Robinson, as much as I've enjoyed seeing her again. If you know a woman who's gone above and beyond to contribute to your community, please email us. We're womansworldtv@aol.com. Remember, it's a woman's world. I'm Carolyn Bruna. See you next time.